I'm Alison Peck, a reproductive endocrinologist and infertility specialist, and I'm here with Brittany Hawkins. Okay, so I think it would be great if you're willing to share with us what made you decide to freeze your eggs.
Yeah, for me it happened, I was 33, I'm 34 now, so it was about a year ago. I'd been back and forth on trying to decide whether or not it was right for me. I was actually living in South Africa at the time, and my husband and I were unsure where we were going to live in this world. We were between moves, and actually what was I'm not as concerned that we'll have issues with our first child, but we do know we want to have 2 kids. So not knowing when that would be and how far apart we might want to have kids, I could be in my early 40s by the time I really want to go forward with a second. So that was a real consideration for us, and knowing that I wouldn't be happy about some of the potential realities such as miscarriage and having to go through potentially multiple cycles of IVF. So it was more so thinking about, realistically about where we were in our lives and actually what might be the case for us if we didn't move forward with egg freezing.
Thank you for sharing that. So many women have so many different kind of experiences and what motivates them and brings them in. And I love your story because in this case, like, you have a partner and you still made a conscious choice that you weren't ready necessarily to make a commitment and start having children. And other women are in totally different situations and don't have partners, but it's like, thank you, because that's a really beautiful way of welcoming other people who are thinking about even if they have a partner.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can imagine back for a moment what that 10 to 12 days of your life was like, taking the medications, taking the shots, what do you remember most, if there was any negative experiences you were having, either whether it was emotional or physical, and maybe some of the positive experiences you may have noticed through the experience?
Yeah, so I didn't think I had a needle phobia, but it turns out I did. And I think it's one thing to have someone else give you a shot, but I had never administered a shot on myself. And I did it, firstly, I didn't actually administer the shot, and then I thought that I did it twice. I had a little freak out. It was fine. And they make it actually it's a kind of a fail-safe system, but it still just made me really nervous, so it just sort of added a little bit to the anxiety. But once I got into the swing of things, it's no different than a diabetic taking their insulin.
Yes.
It really wasn't that scary, especially just I kind of would go into this pretending to be, my mom's a nurse, so I've always kind of put myself in her shoes and kind of got on with it, and it kind of made it a little easier. And yeah, I actually think the first week or so were just completely, I actually expected it to be a little bit of a roller coaster, maybe physically uncomfortable, but really nothing was different. I did sort of make sure to make time for myself, more, focus on self-care and really eat well, and actually it was a really great opportunity to kind of take a step back and really focus on me and making sure that, it's really weird. You're thinking about, oh my gosh, I might be creating what will be my future child. It's a little bit of a weird concept, so you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can. So then I would say closer to the end, towards the procedure date, I had a lot of eggs because I have been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which means that you generally respond very well to the hormone medication, and I definitely had a lot of eggs, which was great, but also meant that my ovaries were just massive. They were just socked into my tiny little ovaries. So it was quite uncomfortable at the end there, and I was very happy for the retrieval date. The retrieval itself was completely painless, 15 minutes in and out. Really, it's barely even a procedure. I think it's just more of it's a short trip to the doctor's office. Of course, the recovery is a little bit long, and mine in particular was a little bit longer because I had these sort of enlarged ovaries that were, I needed to give them some time to recalibrate. But other than that, it was far less scary or emotionally or physically than I think I anticipated in the beginning.
I absolutely love the answer to that question. I felt like I could really understand your experience, because from the doctor's standpoint, I tell my patients almost everything that you just said, but I myself have not done egg freezing, and so to hear that you actually experienced it in a way that I do try my best to illustrate is just so beautiful to hear firsthand. So thank you so much for sharing that. And and then the last one I'll say is, like, now that it's kind of behind you, how do you think you feel? Like, is this something you're happy that you did this? I imagine, you know, is there any part of it that you may regret? Does it feel strange to have your eggs somewhere frozen?
I think for me, it actually just made me feel so much less stressed. You know, I carry so much weight, I feel, on my shoulders with, you know, living in an expensive city and managing work-life balance and all those things. So the idea of having that sort of ticking biological clock, which I also call the ticking time bomb, is sort of, you know, you wear it whether or not you want to. So for me, it was really an opportunity to just feel like, take a breath of fresh air and just kind of live my life the way I want to live it. I do understand I know for a fact that it may not work, but I feel like I've taken a very important step in at least, you know, working towards that that sense that I will have a fertile future, regardless if I wait a few years or, you know, until I'm actually ready. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's been, for me, again, regardless of whether or not the eggs are going to turn into embryos, which will actually become a baby, is sort of, you know, a reality I'm comfortable with. But I think it's just helped me just refocus on the things that are important to me right now, so that I can build that future for a family.
Beautiful. Like, it's just truly a pleasure to hear you say and share, and I thank you, because you're not only speaking to me right now and sharing, but you're speaking hopefully to an audience of people that can truly benefit from this information and from your experience.